All right, friends. How are we today?
Mr. Hudson, Mr. Frankenstein figured it out for you.
I'm sorry. When I was your age, I didn't have a phone case, so or a phone. All right, peeps. So if you check out our schedule board over on the far side of the room, you can see the entire week laid out for you. So today and tomorrow, we have new lessons, but I have a feeling that these skills will be fairly quick. So we may even get to dabble into 722 today, which means we might tomorrow get to start the closure. My goal is on Wednesday, you don't have homework. And then on Thursday and Friday, you wouldn't have homework, so we're working on a mastery. So here's what's up, and I was just having this conversation with Math 7, just at the tail end of their class. This is a week where I am trying to help you guys recover a little bit because we know quarter 2 and quarter 3 ramp up. I know you have other assignments for other classes that you didn't have quarter 1. Like, whereas you might not have had homework in science or language arts or something like that in quarter 1, you probably are starting to have some now. So this week, in math, you only really have 2 homework assignments. That's if you use Wednesday's class time well, because Wednesday's homework is to finish what you don't have done from class. That being said, this also odd, well, it's not as odd for you as it is for Math 7. This kind of odd schedule is a result of I'm out 2 different days this week. Wednesday, I'm out for some meetings. Sorry, I don't control that. It is to help rewrite an assessment that the district uses to help figure out if kids can skip certain classes or not. And Friday, it's like math acceleration. If you want to try to skip, like if you wanted to try to skip 7th grade math altogether, you would have to show that you can do those skills or work at a certain level. You would be able to acquire those skills very, very quickly. So we have different assessments that are like test out options. They're normally pretty tough. Because that's like saying, I've never learned this in a classroom setting, but I'm going to try to show that I know how to do it. So you would have had to do something outside of school to get to that point. And then Friday, I just have some doctor's appointments. You know, occasionally, like your mom or dad takes you to the doctors, and you get poked and prodded and everything else. So one with my general doctor, one with a skin doctor, and one with an eye doctor. So doctor, fun. Just because if you're going to have one appointment on a day, when you become an adult, it's like, okay, how much can I cram into the same day? Seriously. So, like, I took the day off. My first appointment starts at 8 a.m. My last appointment goes later than the school. You'll be out of school, and I'll still be in the doctor's office. So it kind of sucks, but whatever. I like my eye doctor. I go to America's Best. She, well, it depends on how they do things, but if you have to get your pupils dilated, like, that's going to bug you no matter what. All right, now, as we get deeper in the year, you guys are going to notice a shift that I'm going to take. So, I kind of joke with my friends sometimes that, like, my job is kind of like acting. Like, I have different roles that I play different days, depending on what's going on. And as we get into the year, especially in this class, I need to be less of an aide and more of just like a guide. So, I don't know, to give you kind of an analogy, when you go to climb Mount Everest, you don't try to climb it yourself, unless you're crazy. You would normally hire a guide who knows what he's doing and is an expert in the climb, and will go ahead of you and show you what to do, or maybe be behind you and help you figure stuff out. And you'd also have a Sherpa, who essentially like carries your stuff. So, and you have to pay extra for that, yeah. Like a Sherpa is a person who their job, well, like they're a good mountain climber and they can carry a lot of weight. So they like take your stuff either ahead of you or behind you. So essentially, we're like the first quarter, you've had both a guide and a Sherpa. Someone's been carrying the load for you. Like as we go through class, I kind of like set things up and like let some of the like, oh, you don't know this, but you're gonna need this. Like now we're peeling some of that back. That Sherpa's giving you back some of your gear, so you're gonna feel that weight a little bit more. Not trying to like stress you out, but like we're about to shift chapters again. And kind of shift what we're doing. So today, I think we should be pretty good with these skills. So I'm not going to help you much. I'm just going to like set it up and go. And then pull it back together and set it up and go. And I need you guys to be honest so I really know how fast we can go. If we can get into 722 today, that would help you guys be able to not have homework Wednesday. Is like my plan of us trying to go more quickly. Is we would have time tomorrow to work on a little bit of the closure. And then all of Wednesday to work on closure, which you guys are going to be on your own on Wednesday. Like, it might be a math teacher. So, like, again, you don't have as much of that support system. Quinn? Quinn?
I had something that I forgot.
Dropped it. You had it. The answers are in the book and or in your ebook. So yeah, that will help you as well. And once I know who my guest teacher is, if it's someone who's been here before, like Kim, I can't remember her last name, or Mrs. Likens, or people that like know you guys, that's a little bit easier. But so here's our first setup, and all I'm really going to do is say go. But we're at the store, right? And you know the sign says like buy 3 pounds, $7.50. This always threw me off as a kid. I always thought like, so do you have to buy 3 pounds to get that price? And finally, like I was, able to ask the question. I don't know why as kids you're like afraid to ask questions. But finally I asked that question. I was like, Dad, do you have to buy, I think I asked probably a dumb question, like, how do you know that's 2 pounds? Like you grab some bananas or something. And he's like, what? I was like, yeah, the sign says like 2 pounds is this much. And then he explained to me, you don't have to buy that. That's just the price that they set on the item. So we're going to have a lot of situations like that today. There are multiple ways to solve these problems. So please don't look at a partner who's doing it differently and tell them they're wrong. They're different. Doesn't mean they're wrong. So dive in to 96. See if you can figure out how much of this Havarti cheese, which is a type of cheese, makes me giggle because in my brain it sounds like Havarti. But then if you get that one done, go up Grammy with her. No, I think their name's Graham, which just spelled weird. But last year we started calling them Grammy, so then we made the joke about Grammy. Then go help Graham figure out that problem about his job. Again, I'm not going to give you a bunch of help. I'm going to let you guys work on these for a few minutes and kind of walk around, then we'll pull back together and see the different ways we solve them and keep rolling forward. So I'm going to try to not do anything at the board, probably for like 5 minutes. Let you try to process through both of these problems. So we should have math books out at our group. So if you don't, that's on you. We should have headers on our notes. We should have our plan book filled out. We're marching through the year. I should not have to ask for these things. Give me one way that you solved this problem, Miss Marks.
If you can do it 2 ways.
Yeah.
You can do 3 divided by 7.5 and you get 0.4.
You get 0.4. So you went this way, division that way, and got 0.4. So what does that mean, actually? Do you know what that 0.4 is representing? Yeah, 0.4 pounds, right? And that's actually pounds per $1 is what Peyton actually did there. She took both and divided by 750, essentially, and said for $1, that's how much of the cheese you could get. Or you said there's another way. If I take both of these fractions and I kind of back it up and I say, well, what does 1 pound cost? Right? If I divide by 3 this way, I can divide by 3 that way, and I get that a pound costs $2.50. Who took this way where you found the price of a pound? This, and you might want to make a note of this on your paper because this will start to become more and more important as we go through the year. You probably recognize this from your, what's the thing called? Phoenix Fair. You unit prices are what does one cost? What does one box, 1 pound, 1 roll, 1 candy cane, 1 whatever is your unit price. Now you got to know what units are. So here our unit is pounds, right, for 1 pound. Then, and this is super easy, to get to 10, the math works out nicely. What do I do to get to 10? Times 4. And we do the same thing here. So we could get 4 pounds of Havarti for $10. That's a lot of cheese. Seems kind of expensive, but that's a lot of cheese. Your colon might disagree. What? Cheese is notorious for slowing down your digestive system. Yes, cheese slows down your digestion. I think most dairy actually does. All right, so gram. Mallory, are you going to help me with gram here? What'd you do to help gram, Granny? Yeah. So we can work this up and figure out for 1 hour or his unit pay, right? He's making how much? $8.46. I think that's right about the minimum wage right now. I think we're at like 8 or 8.50, somewhere around there for minimum wage. Which is funny because that's not actually the lowest wage people get paid. That's just a thing we call minimum wage. Like, so if you wait tables or like you're a server, if you're a tippable position, they can pay you lower than minimum wage, but you get tips. So
Sometimes.
yeah.
Most of the time.
Then to get to 40, we can just multiply by 40, right? Did I need to do this necessarily? No, we could have gone straight here. We could have just multiplied by 80, right? So either way, what do we get? What did Graham make in the week?
A lot of money.
303. What?
338.
Gross. Now this is leading us to a skill that you don't know yet. So, Jessica's group up here says we did a different way. We cross multiply, which is a skill you don't know yet, quote unquote, because we haven't done it technically in CPM yet. But if we want to, you guys already know how to do cross multiplication, right? Do I need to make this a whole big thing? So when we come down to a situation like this is what 98 was leading us to get to. Is, well, this one is more painful than the other ones, right? Because 5 and 2 work together all right, but they don't work together great. 5 to 13 is kind of gross. So when we get to a problem like this, even figuring out the unit rate isn't that fantastic, because, so Carolyn says, well, if it takes 5 cups of flour to make 2 recipes, then I know each recipe is going to take 2.5 cups of flour, right? If I cut this in half, so she can figure out that, right? Half both of them. Now, little disclaimer, asterisk off to the side or something, this doesn't always work when you actually are cooking, baking, like, it's weird. It doesn't always actually work. That's why, like, mom's cooking is unmatched, because she knows when you need a pinch more of this or a dash more. And not to be, like, gender, like, dad's cooking could be the same way, but, like, that's why you're like, I didn't do it quite right. Like, when you grow up and you try their recipe, recipes they're not perfect. Some are, but this doesn't always work. So, okay, so then I'm going to go from 2.5 to 13. Yeah, that seems easy. No, as Braylon says, no, it's not easy. So instead, and if we want to go back to the y, 1/2 equals how many fourths? Well, we know that, right? But if we want to justify why cross multiplication works, something has to be filled in up there so that this multiplication equals the same as that multiplication. So if this equals 4, this has to equal 4, and therefore this has to be 2. What we would really set up from here, though, if I make this x, is we get 2 times x equals whatever the other multiplication was. So here in this situation, we get 5x is equal to 26. Sorry, my 5's a little weird there. And then we would get x is 5.1. 5.2, yeah, my bad. It'd be 1/5, but 2/10. Sorry, it'd be 5 and 1/5 if I did it with fractions. Now, Carolyn had a different equation. Remember, different doesn't mean wrong. Carolyn set up this. Right, so Carolyn said, I know each recipe takes 2.5 cups. R, she's using to represent how many recipes we make. So 2 recipes would need 5, 3 recipes would need 7.5, right? 4 recipes would need 10. So Carolyn sets up, right, well, the amount of flour we use total, 13, equals 2.5 times R. Does this make sense? Yeah, because I multiply by how many recipes, right? And that gives me and I know my total is 13. And you may not have been in this situation, but I know my mom's crazy like this. She's like, I want to use up all the flour that I have. So then I go to the store and like, oh, why? Who cares? Like, I just may never understand that. But when she's like pouring it out, she's like, you know, there's not enough here to keep. I'm just going to make more. And like, to me, that wigs me out from the math side. I'm like, oh, now you have to scale your recipe. But she just knows how to do it. But maybe that's how we get to that weird 13 cups of flour. And she figures out that's going to make 5 and another 5th of a recipe. Which is weird, but if you're a good baker, you can make it work. So, let's try this real fast. Solve these through cross multiplication. Now, hang on. First thing I need you to do is write the resulting equation from the cross multiplication. So we're going to do A together. If you have 2/15, and write the original first, always. You have 2 options, and I've seen kids do this both ways from elementary schools. You can do that, which shows you what you're connecting. So then I would have 2 times 5 equals 15 times x. Or what I've heard kids call the butterfly method, where you make the wings and you circle them. Either way, you're still going to have 2 times 5 equals 15 times x. So then we get 10 equals 15x. Please make sure we're writing this down. What do we do to get the x by itself? Divide, right? It is multiplying, which is why we want to divide. And x is 2/3. Now, here's the other way that might blow your mind. This doesn't use cross multiplication, but because the numbers are nice here. By the way, for anyone who cares, I don't know why this just popped into my head, but go Crew. The Crew has won both of our matches, and we have a week off now, but we are continuing in the playoffs. It's great, especially since we just potentially got the Crew to stay here. How do I go from 15 to 5? Not times 3, divide by 3, right? Divide by 3. Okay, x has to be 2, divide by 3. If the numbers are nice, gravity. Sorry, I saw it happening.
Wait, I am defying gravity.
Chill out. Nothing happened.
All I can think of is the song Defying Gravity. Okay, so chillax, simmer, turn the heat down. You don't simmer to a crisp. When you simmer something, it's like boiling, it's like bubbling. So, hang on. None of the other numbers here really work that well, though. There's one other one that could work kind of well, but if the numbers work out really well, you're golden. Otherwise, cross multiplication's the easiest way. So, solve B, C, and D. You should not need more than 3 minutes. And you may use a calculator if you want. C is the other one that could work nicely. If you did not get your follow-up turned in on Friday, please try to do that today.
Mom didn't work in my house. I sent them a photo.
You do not need to be whistling. It might help your focus, but it does not help your classmates. Are there any Boy Scouts in here? Yeah, so, you guys want to hold one with me?
Yeah.
You know, oh, wait, probably. Oh, you need more later. Sunday morning was the perfect, like, cold morning. It wasn't wet all the year. I don't like moisture, I like cold. I like more clothes on.
I don't like it wet, but I
Yes, and people often laugh at this by saying, I can only take off so many clothes that people get upset. I can put more clothes on and no one ever gets upset. All right. In B, 7/8 might be a fraction we're starting to memorize because we can remember that 1/8 is half of a fourth, right? And 1/8 is actually 12.5 or really 0.125 because if think money, right? 1/4 is 0.25. 1/8 is half of that quarter, or 0.125 cents. If we could actually represent this as money, right, it'd be 12.5 cents, which is 0.125. So if I take that away from 100, like this amount away from 100, my x should actually be 87.5. Now, I could have gotten that through cross multiplication. I just wanted to show you guys the other method. Excuse me, if you're memorizing some of those fractions, we can get to things more quickly. Right? If you know 1/8, you really can figure out 7/8.
Yeah.
C can work easy. Anyone tell me how C can work easy? George?
Okay, so it's just that
Brendan? You had your hand up too, right?
No.
Brayden, dang it! Sorry. In the morning class, like the class before you, I have Brendan. He sits right there, and then no, you're fine. Brayden, I know who you are too. That's why I get so mad at myself.
This is very confusing because I have a cousin named Brandon.
Okay, you learn 86 names, and then let's talk about confusing. Brayden.
Yeah, what do you mean? I'm probably wrong, but, so, to cross multiply,
Oh, don't cross multiply. Fine, we'll come back to
okay,
you.
find it. So if you do 2.4 times 10.
2.4?
No, 0.2. 0.2 times 10.
Guys, you're all trying too hard.
No.
What is that? What do I need to do to 2/10 to turn it into 1? 5! Just times 5!
It's your part.
Next is 10. Now, you, hang on, chill. You could cross multiply, right? You could. But you don't need to. And D is just gross. I would not try any other method aside from cross multiplication. So we would get 7y equals 44.8, right? Divide by 7, divide by 7. What'd you say y is?
6.4.
6.4.
No.
What? For D?
Yeah, 6.4.
I got 2 now.
All right, hang on. I got 8 minutes to launch into 722 so that we can use some time tomorrow to get ahead and promote not having homework on Wednesday. So this, it doesn't work when everyone talks over me. This does not change your homework for tonight. Your homework for tonight, just still focus on 721. Braylon, can you handle this?
Yeah.
Because you look like you're on a roller coaster, my dude. Draw squiggly across your notes, something so you know we're switching gears. 722. We're doing the same work, solving proportions, but now in a different manner. Again, we're the fast class, right? That's why we're squeezing in as much as we can. So, we've talked about proportions, but we haven't talked a ton about what things are not proportional. And you had one of these situations, I forget if it was on your homework or your test, but where the line that we were drawing, the graph line, did not start at 0. Yeah, so we were graphing a line. My back group people like teeth. It's like I have to ask to see your eyeballs. So I'm just in the middle of stuff that I think you guys will find important.
Good morning, Alex Cooper. Please come to the office. Alex Cooper, please come to the office. Thank you.
This makes a graph not proportional. Remember, we talked about a proportional graph starts at your 0, 0 point, not just like I forced it, like that has to be 0, 0. Your intersection has to be 0, 0. And then goes in a straight line. Whether it goes up or down or straight or like it doesn't matter, but it starts at 0, 0 or goes through 0, 0 and goes in a straight line. So if it starts somewhere else, it's not proportional. Also, if it starts and then changes, it's not proportional. Right? So it's got to be a straight line and it has to go through or start from the origin. So remembering that, we're talking about proportional relationships right now, which is why we can use proportions. Right? Fraction, what a fraction, proportion, because we know these relationships are proportional. So if we compare these two shapes, and again, I don't want to give this away to you guys. I want you to try to figure out the length of x, whatever way makes sense in your head. So take a moment, don't even talk with your group for at least like a minute. Just analyze these two shapes. In your head, what makes sense? Don't even read B, because B is going to try to like funnel your brain one direction. Just look at those two shapes. How would you solve for the unknown x? There's a few different relationships you can see. Is it going to be a whole number?
No.
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 Well, we have two books. Raymond, do you kind of want to tell us what to do?
I think mine's like really hard to do.
Well,
Like I
talk
did
me
it
through
really hard.
Talk me through it.
So I was looking at them, and like all they did was minus. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm saying minus. Subtract a fourth of the number, like a.
Of what number?
Like a fourth of 12 is 3, and they just minus 3 on the
Ah.
and then a fourth of 4.
So can I re-describe what you're saying? Because you're doing two different operations. You're multiplying to find a fourth, and then you're taking it away. And instead of taking away 1/4 through the multiplication and then the subtraction, what if I try to do it all together? What is 9 compared to 12? 9 is what of 12? Yeah, it's 3/4 of 12. Braylon said the same thing up here. 3 is 3/4 of 12. This is actually a great way, Braylon. So what is 3/4 of 6? Connor? 4.5. Because 1/4 of it is 1.5. Right, so this becomes 4.5 because it is 3/4 of it. You don't have another technique to apply?
Okay, this isn't really a technique. This is just kind of observing. So, well, on the shape A, I know that, so 12 is over, right?
Mhm.
And then, so half of 12 is 6, so it'd be right here. So I just did the same thing on the other thing, so I just did 9, half of 9 is 4.5.
Who saw that relationship? Either of those relationships is how we solve proportions. I love that Braylon took it comparing little shape to big shape. George took it comparing two different pieces of the same shape and two different pieces of the same shape. There are two, and actually this really means there's 4 different ways we can set up proportions for shapes. So I could set up 6/12 equals x over 9. That's what George essentially said. Or I could set up 12/6 equals 9/x. Right? I've got 2 ways to set that up. But if I take Braylon's method, Braylon essentially, when you first told it to me, was like 9 compared to 12. Right? You were saying like what of that, and then we can take away 1/4 of it. That will equal the x compared to 6. Now we're relating the two different shapes with each other. Right? Either way, and then I could flip this one too. I could have 12 to 9, 6 to x. Any of those 4 proportions would be a correct way to set this up and solve it. Questions? This is tough because there's so many options. Because there's not one way to do it. What you want to make sure is that your fractions agree. If I have shape B to shape A, right, a side on B, a side on A, I gotta have a side on B, a side on A. If I have shape B to shape B, which this is not, then I have to have shape A to shape A. And then I gotta compare, is it short sides, like short, long, because if I have short, long, I can't have long, short. All right, we'll talk more about this tomorrow, but that's our brief little intro to 722, so we can move more quickly tomorrow. Have a great day, guys. Thank you very much. Stay cool.
Hey, are you set for advisory?
Yeah, I mean, what do you mean by set?
Like,
Yeah.